People of God, I want to tell you something else, right? I know the Pharisees watching gonna be like, oh, she done went from laying at the feet of the Father to talking about guns. Okay, Pharisees, sit back, have your seat. Listen, I want to share something with you about pest control. If by chance that in the future, near or far, certain services um, stop or you're not able to um, get help if you see certain pests on your property, I want to show you something. These are not um, live firearms, okay? These are air rifles. The one to the right of me, well, they're both to the left of me, but the one on the right is by Gammo. It's a pellet gun. Yeah, a pellet rifle. The one to the left is by Umarex. It's a BB air rifle that takes a nitrogen cartridge, right? And the reason I want to share this, for one, they were sitting here near me and I thought about it. Pest control. Now, anybody that knows me knows your girl don't like snakes. I'm an animal lover, but when it comes to snakes, woo! And one day I saw a snake curled up. I went to go get some eggs out of my chicken coop. And when I stuck my hand in there, I stuck my hand before I tipped over and looked by the grace of God. And when I stuck my hand in there and I just happened to look over, it was a huge, big, thick snake curled up, um, a black snake. And at that time, stop, Daniel, stop it. He's trying to get inside my office. So anyway, at that time, I was in this chicken group. I was in a group chicken raising chickens 101 or whatever, right? And the thing terrified me. I was so afraid. I did not have these air rifles. But what I did have is I had this. This is something that I had for years, and this is a BB gun as well. It takes an air cartridge. The air cartridge goes right in here, a nitrogen cartridge, right? But I didn't know what to do. I was afraid. I was panicking because snakes just creep me out. I do not like anything about snakes. Now, my neighbor behind me, he's told me for years, he has cats. I'm not really a cat lover either. Um, but he has told me for years his cats always catch little snakes for years. And I was like, oh, I thank God you have a cat and they catch them. So several of my neighbors surrounding me, everyone has animals, but there are several cat owners, and I thank God for them because obviously they catch certain pests that I definitely would not want to see, which a snake being one of them. And my neighbor would always tell me that his cat would catch snakes, and I was like, well, thank God it catches it before it gets to my property. But this time, the snake not only got to my property, but it was already in my nesting box, and I just did not know what to do. Right? I didn't have a husband that I could just run in the house and say, "Oh, honey, come and get the snake." So I'm just thinking, what should I do? What should I do? I was just afraid. And then, so anyway, my chickens were still inside the coop. I had 4 girls inside that same coop, and one of them, she has this special noise that she makes when she's trying to get my attention or whatever. And he was in the nesting box, and so I went to look in there and run, and one of them, she was ready to lay. So I opened the door to the coop actually on the side, and I could see the snake, and my girl that was ready to lay, she's got her legs flapping and breathing, like, get this. She's looking at the snake, looking at me, walking back and forth, looking at her nesting box, looking at me, walking back. And so she kept doing this, like, mommy, you gonna get the snake out of there? I need to lay my eggs. And I'm thinking, oh, I hope this snake don't kill my eggs. So I just started praying. I was like, I rebuked this serpent. I said, Lord, how could you let this serpent come on my property? Right? So I'm out there walking back, all of us going crazy. The chicken's going crazy, I'm going crazy. And then I'm walking back and forth, and then I just hear this voice like, calm down, go get a ladder. And there's also something that I purchased shortly after that. I didn't know that there was something it's a long, I think a 5-foot or 8-foot stick called a snake catcher, which is a handle. So if that were to happen in the future, which, I didn't want to shoot inside my nesting box either, because I would destroy the coop. But in the future, if something like that were to happen, I have this snake catcher pole where I could have easily picked the snake up and do whatever with it. But anyway, long story short, I ended up getting a ladder after I listened to this little voice calm down. I got a ladder, and I had a long pole in my backyard, and I stood up on the ladder. I lifted up the top of the nesting box, and I stuck the snake because I wanted to get it off the ground. It was like I could think then, like my mind started coming back to me. Okay, if I could get him out of the coop on the ground, then I could go and get a gun and shoot him, right? So I kept poking him with the stick. He got to the ground. He got out of the nesting box in the coop, and then he tried. Then I saw what really got me. I saw when he scratched out, he had ate 3 eggs already. He'd already eaten 3 of my eggs. I was like, "Oh no, you stole from me! I don't bother nobody." And now the snake done came and stole my eggs. But anyway, he got to the ground, and that's when I had already let my girls, some of the girls that wanted to come out. But as soon as he came out of the nesting box, thank God he didn't bite my chicken. She went in. Now, one young lady told me that black snakes were harmless, blah, blah, blah. Another guy, he sent me some pictures in the group where he was like, harmless my behind. He used another word, but where a black snake had killed, constricted his chicken, ate 2 of them, and just killed the other one for the devil of it. So anyway, I don't trust them, any color snakes. But he got in the main coop on the ground. So that's when it was like, go and get your BB gun. And I listened to that little voice, and this little gun here is all I had. I mean, I had another gun, but I didn't want to, the loud noise and all of that. But this little gun here is what I got. And I loaded it up with BBs, and I started shooting the snake in the head while it was on the ground in the coop. And I think I shot that. I think I loaded this thing like 5 or 6 times because it was still moving and moving. I didn't want no movement. I kept shooting it in the head. The head was all tore up. But it took me several times loading this little thing. And I think this is a 400 feet per second BB gun, right? But since then, I went and I got the one to the left of me, right? So that was an effective way for me to get rid of the snake. But I also had another intruder come onto my property that really was being vicious towards my dog, and almost got my chickens had I not had a double latch on my coop. It was a raccoon, and he had already got to the bottom and opened that. But I guess he didn't know about the top latch, and he'd already pried it open. I guess they have very great strength because he had the door pried open with the latch in between. And I'm like, this looks like a human being did this. This thing got to be strong. And what brought it to my attention is that morning I went out to get eggs again. Another morning, the raccoon was there, and he was geared up like this, like literally like he was about to fight my dogs. And then my neighbor on the other side, he's like, I'm putting my dogs inside. I was like, this is a huge raccoon. And so at that time I had this one. Well, this one is not that powerful for a raccoon. I think it's like 600 feet per second. So I shot him one time, and he got really, really angry because he would not leave. He got angry, right? And he was trying to get at my dog. So I'm thinking, okay, this thing is not powerful enough. So that it's all I had. It's the most powerful air rifle I had, right? So I shot him in the eyes. I knew it would take out his eyes, and then laugh, but it's what got him, disabled him. But since that time, I knew I needed something more powerful, and that's when I got the Gamma. And it specifically has on the box pest control, raccoons, any type of pest, right? And it's 1,300 feet per second. So obviously I wouldn't have had to shoot the raccoon as many times as I did with this thing, because I had a hard time euthanizing that raccoon with the one on my left as well. So anyway, people of God, this is just what I wanted to show you. Depending on what area you live in, if you ever have issues with pest control and services aren't there, these are simply air rifles. The one on my right, the rifle there is 1,300 100 feet per second, which is very powerful. It's a pellet rifle. And the one on my left is 600, right? It could work for a snake. Definitely better than this handgun. And then there's also, this is another air rifle. I think this is about 700 or 800 square feet. But these are just great tools to have as an alternative to pest control. And like our old boy David had a what? A slingshot. He killed Goliath with a slingshot and some rocks, right? So we know that if we can learn how to use a slingshot, it could also be a lethal weapon, right? These are alternatives to pest control that I wanted to share with you. Alternatives to pest control. What happens when, you know, there is no pest control to call? And you see something on your property that could cause harm to you or your children or your animals, your domesticated animals, right? So I just wanted to share that alternatives to pest control when and if there happens to be no pest control or anyone to call, right? Okay, people of God, have a blessed day.